Hello, I am Mac, at least for a day, and everything's going to be okay. This is going to be my viewer interview with my good friend Lord Markov. I've talked about him in the past. He and I led the Spacing Guild together back when I was running that community, but we're still real good friends, and he's going to be telling us some of his ideas for No Man's Sky, and we're going to have a conversation about that. So, hi, Markov.
Hi, how you doing, Mac? Thanks for
Great.
having me.
Yeah,
I appreciate it.
Go ahead and tell me some of your ideas.
Well, one of the challenges I had when you asked, "Hey, what would you do to improve No Man's Sky?" I've been playing this game for 5 years, and it seems like I've had 5 games in the 5 years. Just every time they have an update, we get vast improvements, things that really make the game feel different. And so it was kind of difficult for me to come up with those things, but there were some broad topics that I thought of that they really haven't done yet. And two of those in particular were villains and scenarios. And I'll describe those more here in a minute. But the first topic I'd like to talk about is something from the newest update, our station cores, if you will.
Hmm.
It looks like to me that we're going to have the ability to maybe control systems or control aspects of systems. And so, of course, that got my gears rolling about all these neat things that could be added to the game. And so I thought we would start first talking about that. At first glance, I'm thinking, okay, they could easily have you affect, let's say, the economy and the threat level. Those things that you'd scan in. If you had control of a system, you might be able to raise or lower how often the pirates come in and what things are sold at the store. But it occurred to me that there's actually an avenue for a lot more here, um, especially if you can build on a space station like you do your freighter, being able to really boost up, maybe even change the appearance of it. Um, and so, along those lines, it seems to me that there are a lot of good opportunities. Maybe even setting up racetracks, competitive things along those lines, avenues for in-game mini games that can be added at these hubs that are I would consider larger than your normal space stations.
The races is a really good idea because someone pointed out to me recently that they said in patch notes a while back that there were going to be spaceship races, but they never did. So I don't know if they wrote that on accident or if we misunderstood what they said or if it was just a feature they were going to do and they had to cancel it. I don't know. But yeah, it's strange they've never done spaceship racing when it sounded like they were going to. Another thing I wanted to say was this is related to the space station thing, but kind of different. I've never told anyone this idea yet, but I was thinking one time that the space station core could be like an entrance to a dungeon. Like there could be a dungeon deep inside the space station because we have the derelict freighter dungeons. I just thought it would be cool if somehow overriding the system would like let you go inside it and like take it over by attacking its systems in some kind of a dungeon area. I don't know. Just a random idea that I had that it's not really well formed. I just thought I'd mention it.
Oh, it's definitely a neat idea. I've been kind of anxious to see what other dungeons they can do ever since we've had those derelict freighters. Um, I thought they were very well done, and I'd like to see more. I could see how that can be pushed forward to ancient ruins or abandoned space stations, which are already in the game. They just haven't really been built upon.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great idea. Another idea that branches off of that system core, and this goes towards my villain idea that I'm going to flush out a bit later, um, is the idea of maybe a system that is in mid corruption or being attacked by a new villain or taken over by pirates. And so that system core or that system control or gaining that system control could be through those means. adding more adventure and purpose for you to, as described in here in recent videos, more of a reason to stay in that system. Having a bit more investment in the things that you're doing instead of just hop, skipping, and jumping from system to system.
Yeah, definitely. We discussed that some in my conversation with Clayton Parrish, and that there needs to be more reason for us to stay in a star system or stay on a planet, some large goal. I mean, they added the, what's it called? The exploration guide, which is kind of cool because it gives you, you know, all the total flora and the total minerals for a planet to find, but there's like no extra reward other than just the nanites and money from scanning them. But I mean, at least it tells you how many you have left before you've discovered all of them. But yeah, we need more goals that give us a reason to stay in a star system and accomplish something before we move on to somewhere else. Because sometimes I just get in the habit of warping to a star system, maybe go to one planet, that's kind of cool, and then go to another star system, and it starts to feel cheap going to another star system. It really should be like when you go somewhere new to a new star system, it's like this whole new world for you to explore, and there's actually some excitement to explore again instead of just, oh, it's another star system with planets that maybe look a bit different, but I don't really have much reason to stay here.
Yep, I totally agree. And usually I would only go through that whole laundry list of things to scan on a planet if I had like a large invested base, like my main farming or mining bases. I might go through and just, hey, let's scan everything, just to make sure to me, it's kind of a claiming of that planet since it's my major base. But I couldn't see myself spending that much time just to scan things on one planet. And like you said, unless there was a goal.
And one thing that is strangely has decreased the amount of time we stay in a star system is the fact that we can build multiple bases. Back in the day when you could only have one base, it was an encouragement to stay, build up that base really big because it was your one base, your only base, and you wanted to make it really something special. Nowadays, anytime I find a cool planet, I just plop a base computer down because I can, and basically the planet is my base. I don't really build much of anything other than a portal so that I can leave. So the ability to have multiple bases has that actually made me spend less time building and not interested. Obviously, a lot of people do still build and stuff, but for me, I've been less encouraged to build now that I can make multiple bases, and I just leave bases behind because there's no reason to build them up, I guess. I don't know.
If you set up the super build, having the right gas collectors and mining spots, you can always jump back to those if you run low, just in case you want to build more money. Although, as long as I've been playing the game, I have trouble finding things to spend my money on.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
me too.
so I've done a lot less of that than I used to. Back when bases were new and they were fun to farm. Like I was saying, like every year it seems like we have an update that's a game changer for No Man's Sky, and so here we are coming up on fifth anniversary, and I'm guessing um, system controls might be that that paradigm shift for the game again. Um, Now, I don't think it's going to be something that's restrictive. I mean, No Man's Sky would never set up something where a person can claim a system and then nobody else can go to it. You know, it's I think it's going to work with a lot of the current mechanics, except for maybe, like I was suggesting before, some new functionalities to the space stations that you control. Um, and yeah, you reminded me about those starship races. We don't have a an avenue for building a spaceship racetrack now, but that might be the perfect vessel for that, or the way that could be introduced, which would then introduce an entire array of uh, unlockable technologies and space station building parts and things along those lines that could really expand the game.
Wow, when you said space or spaceship racetrack or whatever you said, that gave me an idea that how they could do it is you'd have like a little device that you would maybe deploy from your space starship inventory while you're in space. And that would be like the starting and ending point for the race. And then just like we used to make the vehicle races, you would go along through the star system and then some option would allow you to deploy a ring. So there would be checkpoint rings that you would need to fly through. So a person doing the race would start the race at the device floating in space, and then it would show them where the next checkpoint is. So they need to pulse jet to it, go through the ring, and then they'd have to turn, find the next ring, and so on. Um, so yeah, that way you wouldn't, but just everybody wouldn't just be going in a straight line. You'd be having to turn to go to the next ring and so on. But yeah, just an idea I had there all of a sudden.
Actually, exactly what I had pictured as well. Kind of your normal kind of flight simulator race rings, if you will. I've played several games that have had that same sort of thing. So of course that was the mental picture I had for that as well. And perhaps some of the parts can be certain hazards or obstacles of some sort to where you would have some neat things to try to dodge or fly through. Just as a thought there, kind of adding geography to your star system, if you will. Kind of like we have, let's say, rocks and trees and stuff for our bases on the planet. We could have nebula, large asteroids, dwarf planets that we can place as part of that. Just kind of wrapping my mind around all of the different sorts of things that we could have as new purchasables for that sort of thing. And system control, of course, then there's also the wrapping your mind around, okay, exactly what would you need to do to gain system control? Now, I know there's been some mining from people to show that there is an item, like I forget the name of it.
Yeah, but currently that device that lets you override the space station doesn't work. If you use it, it says that it detects a fake hack or whatever, and it doesn't let you do it. But I mean, they
Right.
can change that once the item is supposed to be in the game. They can change it so that it works, or maybe we have to find the correct one. I don't know.
Or when we get it, we have to take it somewhere to have it authenticated as part of the quest to
Yeah,
to gain that system control. That kind of ties into my next biggest thing for speculation slash what I kind of wished from No Man's Sky, and that's a villain. And I'm not talking about your Sentinels, which are just basically a police force. You know, um, an enemy that missions can be built off of. Now we kind of got a little more of a hazard and almost an enemy with the corruption, your biological horrors and things along those lines. Those annoying little crickets on the derelict freighters and things like that. Um, but what I'm kind of looking at here is maybe something that also kind of ups difficulty in some places as well, but not everywhere. Um, Hello Games has always been very good about letting you choose whether or not you get into heavy fighting. Whether it's missions with Sentinels or stealing the monstrosity eggs or what have you, and that this could be set up to where we have systems that have been invaded and taken over by either uh, a new alien race, maybe corruption and monstrosities, which would lend to maybe even new types of those that we haven't seen yet, perhaps pirates. And perhaps that can work in that system control mechanic that I was speculating earlier.
yeah. Um, uh, for the antagonist or villain kind of thing, something that I've been thinking about, maybe not like an evil antagonist, but maybe more of just kind of a competitive antagonist. I was thinking one thing I've wanted for a really long time, I've talked about it a few times, is I would like capital ships for the leaders of the three races. So there would be like a Viking warship, a really impressive, unique freighter that would sometimes spawn in a star system, and you could go on it and you could see like the current overlord of the Viking on a throne, and he would be somewhat antagonistic. Like maybe he would try to get you to fight on his side, and there'd be some kind of storyline about between the three races, the competition, not really all out war, but maybe you could choose to do missions for him. And then the Gek would have a giant trade freighter that it would be special, and it would have like a council room, and it would have like several Gek that are the Gek Trade Council, and you could do missions for them if you choose. Like you'd basically have to choose from one of the three, which one you want to concentrate on doing missions for. Like you could meet all three, and then you would eventually decide that you're going to fight for one of them. So you would have a conversation with them, and then you would either say no, I don't want to decide yet, or yes, I want to fight on your side. And then the Korvax would be another freighter, but it would have like a giant supercomputer in it that is basically the kind of hub center for the Korvax hive mind, the convergence, where the Korvax, their minds are all linked together, but kind of like this is the core processor that links them together. And so that giant supercomputer would be the leader of the Korvax, and you would have the option to help it or deny it, and decide which of the three races you want to concentrate on. And there'd be like a new reputation system, like they either get rid of the old reputation system because it's just not that interesting, or just have a separate group of, like, I don't know, a new type of standing for each race. It'd probably have some different name, but it would be how much you've helped progress that race in their competition with the other two races or whatever. That's just it would introduce conflict without an actual evil villain. It would just be competition, conflict between the three races that would be a lot more interesting than what we've got currently.
Well, I agree, and actually that would work well with what I was talking about with system controls. You could have what are like, regional, like let's say a regional warlord for Viking, a regional corporation for Gek, a regional research consortium for Korvax being, the ones that are right now in the system control, and perhaps the mission is to either court them or unseat them to claim that system. And then, of course, with that reputation system, if you've unseated their friends, let's say if you unseated a Viking warlord, well, then your reputation will show that, hey, this person is not to be trusted. He doesn't like Vikings, if you get what I mean. So
Yeah.
I think that could easily be done.
Was there another category you wanted to discuss
Oh,
separate
I
from
still
those?
had more for
Okay.
villains.
Yeah. So it's getting close to 20 minutes. I try to keep it under 20
Sure.
minutes, or it takes too long to upload the video. So I'm going to do an outro for this video, and then we'll talk about your other stuff in a separate video. But thank you to Lord Markov for talking with me, and we'll be doing another video soon. I have been Mac, and this has been Lord Markov. Thank you for joining us for a day. And remember, everything's going to be okay. Special thanks to my monthly supporters, Shell Owens, JSpot51, Shannon and Jeremy, Meg Payton, Renee McLeod. It's friends like you that motivate me to keep creating.